the city council has no checks and balances in terms of decisions that they make that impact our constitutional rights. The council should no checks and balances in terms of the council should not have the authority to restrict speech that is not favorable to them. These types of decisions should be a ballot measure. This is not an opportunity for them to decide what they give us permission to say. Oversight of the council is most certainly needed. The second item will be council overrides. In our experience, we have seen that there is no independence on the council. When one council member votes a certain way, they all reliably uphold the vote regardless. This is a disservice to the residents because we do not have independence on the council. The independence that we are looking for seems to come from the mayor himself. He has utilized his veto authority, but then the council comes back and overrides the veto. There needs to be a review process for these council overrides because we have all witnessed the abuse of this. And lastly, for council confirmed employees, if the termination of an employee requires an affirmative vote of the city council, the employee should be suspended until the city council makes a decision in public meetings. Furthermore, the charter should be updated so that the termination for good cause can be a little clearer. There should be no question about what the council is considering because currently the charter is subject to interpretation in this area. We have evidence of this based on the erroneous statement that the council put out, and they do not even understand the change themselves. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snelly.
Next speaker is Ms. Connie Robinson.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I am Connie Robinson, and I reside in District 2. And I just want to speak to you all. I know that you all have an important job to do, and we hope that you will uphold that position regardless of your personal feelings as it relates to what's in the best interest of the citizens. I know that several changes have already been made to the charter, and some of them seem to be self-serving. And now, I guess, as you move forward with trying to review the charter and determine what changes are necessary, as Mr. Snelling had just mentioned, we hope that you will independently make your decisions based on what you feel is right. I think we all know what is right and what is wrong, and we should not be just supporting another person's decision just because of maybe who they are or how you might like them personally. This is a business as it relates to your role, and you have to operate as such so that you are acting on the best interest of the people. And so that's all I have to say at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Brother Raymond R. Alexander III.
Good evening, Council. I reside in District 3. A little bit about myself, be right quick. For the last 35 years, I live in New York City. Was a retired police officer for 20 years. I purchased my home in 2007. At the same time, now this is my permanent residency. I only have one issue with the city of Fulton. I pay more taxes here on my property here than I did in New York. And my concern is garbage removal. My concern is why the garbage removal is not included in my yearly property taxes. And I would like you all to consider to figure out something to do that. I pay more taxes here, and I still have to pay for garbage removal. And that it should be included in the yearly tax. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander.
Next speaker is Pastor Warren Henry.
First of all, I'd just like to say again, God bless all of you. I remember when our former mayor, Commissioner Edwards, made an announcement to all of the citizens in District 7 about becoming a city. It was on that night that we sung a song we marched out having decided that we wanted to be a city. And with something like this, I need you, you need me. We're all a part of God's army. Stand with me, agree with me, because that's who we are. And we left out on a charge to make this dynamic and powerful city. The founding fathers and mothers got together and began to work on the charter that will help to govern our city. Just recently, I spoke to one of those individuals, and they made this beautiful comment to me, that the charter was to get us started. It is not a perfect child. It must grow, and therefore it needs changes. And I thank God that you all are here to help give it that growth that it needs. May God continue to bless you.
Thank you, Pastor.
The next speaker is Mr. Corey Critel.
Thank you, guys. My name is Corey Critel. I'm a resident and business owner in the city of South Fulton. And I just want to take some time to address some of the concerns that I've had as a resident and as a business owner, specific to Old National. It's my understanding that the city council and the city government of this area want to promote local businesses from in, specifically black-owned local businesses, with those businesses that have a particular niche for providing exceptional level of service. And that's what we want to bring to this community, right? It's my understanding that the city's mission is to provide exceptional service that sustains a safe, inclusive, innovative, and economically vibrant community. It's my understanding that the motto of this city is where you want to be, right? I purchased a house in this city about 5 or 6 years ago. Since buying my house, my home has been broken into 2 times. I've had a car stolen. I've had all of my electronics stolen out of my house. Since opening my business in October of 2020, I've established relationships with different members of council, different members of government to grow my business and to understand the bigger vision of what the city is trying to accomplish. And with that being said, I have not found any support from the city on not just our establishment and growing our business, but even for the safety of my own family and my own home. Yesterday, I was in court for violating code, and the judge and Mr. Brian Morris mentioned that the purpose for the meeting yesterday was for code compliance and to uphold standards for Old National District, right? The code that I specifically violated was that my truck was parked on our lawn, which is a direct violation of code. The second violation was that I had a sign truck. Right? I did not have a sign truck. My truck is wrapped with my logo, therefore it's not a sign truck. That same day, Mark Baker had a sign truck parked in my parking lot unlawfully. Right? So I just want us to be mindful of what the mission is of this city as we think about this charter.
Thank you, Ms. Cartel.
Are there any other speakers present that would like to speak? If not, that concludes the speakers.
Is anyone viral? Do we have
no, there was one person who signed up, but he has not joined the Zoom call.
Okay, well, I'm going to conclude the public hearing. At this time, we're going to have open discussion about anything. We know that what our mission is and how we're going to perform it. We decided that we're going to take the charter section by section or line by line, whichever we choose. I will caution us to this. If, in fact, that we make recommendations, we just don't make one-line recommendations. We make recommendations supported by why we made that recommendation, if we're going to send it up to. You can't say we're not going to keep the lights on. We just, and don't tell people why we're not going to keep the lights on. So as we go through that, we want to make sure we do that. The important thing today is, though, is how we're going to go is to find out how much of the charter we're going to be discussing at our next meeting. I'd like to start with that. And I think, Ms. Ackerberry, you had some suggestions on that?
Well, I think if we divide it up by how many meetings we're having and how many sections there are, that may help us determine how many we can cover at each meeting. But I think it's important to go through each one. There may be no comment on it, but at least we've looked at it and covered it. So I think there's
How many meetings do we have, Mr. Clerk, after this one?
Yes, I did include a meeting schedule in there, so after today, you have 2, 4, 6, 8 additional scheduled meetings.
Okay, so we're talking about 8 meetings.
So I think it would end up being like 2 charter sections at a time to get us to the end. Probably 3, because if we're going to leave time for additional public comment, a draft, so maybe 3 or 4 per meeting.
Okay.
It would give us enough time, I think.
Any other suggestions?
Parliamentary inquiry.
Yes.
If it's in the best interest of the city that this commission be formed to make recommendations to change the charter, I think it's important that we, the body, is properly structured. I had the pleasure of reading through some of the charter language, and it says that, except as provided by the charter, no member of this board, and I'm paraphrasing, no member of any board, I won't paraphrase, no member of any board, commission, or authority shall hold any elective office in the city. And we're starting out not honoring the current charter. How can we have credibility moving forward if we don't operate from what we have to work with? We're talking about changing stuff. We got to work with what we have. The law says no member of this commission can be an elected official. And we sit here today in violation.
Any further comment on that issue?
No comment.
I also,
Oh, let me, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say something. Go ahead,
I'll
Mr.
get you.
Chairman. Please.
Go ahead.
I also read through the charter somewhat as well, and I picked up on that language, and I was gonna address it today. Thank you, Mr. Frank, for bringing that out.
I was gonna, I'm sorry,
No,
did I
go,
jump in
no,
front of
you jumped in front of
I'm-
that.
I yield. Go ahead,
He'll
ma'am.
yield to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was going to mention that as well, so I'm glad that you brought it up because we should always do things in decency and in order. And I actually would like to make a motion that we follow the charter as it states and would ask that the mayor make an appointment and excuse himself from this commission so that we can abide by the charter as it currently stands.
I would like to second that motion.
Properly moved and second. Mr. Clerk, would you restate the motion so it'll be clear?
So I understand the motion, it was a motion to ask, I assume Mayor Khalid, to appoint someone to this charter commission in accordance with the charter. And that was seconded by, I didn't catch the second.
Who's the second?
Ms. Franklin, thank you.
D. Franklin, yes. We're a discussion.
For the interest of those watching and those present, are we able to cite that particular section in the charter for independent review of anyone?
That's in,
Yeah.
if I
Go
may.
ahead, go ahead,
if I may.
Mr.
Section 4.11, line D.
Want to read it? Is it long? You want to read it?
It says, except as otherwise provided by charter or by law, no member of any board, commission, or authority shall hold any elective office in the city.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. It was properly moved and second, probably by Ms. Everett. You moved it. Who was the first to move the motion? Okay, you moved the motion, second by D. Okay, no further discussion? Let's vote.
Move to yeas and nays.
Yeah, nays is good. We can do that, I can do that.
Absolutely.
We go to yeas and nays. Yeah and nay.
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Yeah. Hold on,
Yes.
he'll give it a call. Roll
Mr.
call vote.
Edwards,
Yay.
Judge Johnson,
Yay.
Mr. Crane,
Yay.
Ms. Franklin,
Yay.
Ms. Henry,
Yay.
Mr. Herring,
Yay.
Ms. Jordan,
Yay.
Mayor Khalid.
I'm gonna abstain.
Ms. Martin,
Yay.
Ms. Huckleberry,
Yay.
Mr. Taggart.
Yay.
That item was approved, 10 yeas, 1 abstention.
Okay. So, Mr. Cleet, I guess that the proper thing to do is that you, at some point, you need to appoint someone, Mayor, to take your place.
Absolutely. I will have someone by the next meeting.
So do we recognize any voting here with Mr. Khalid today would be improper?
Yes.
It's my understanding. Okay. All right. Any other discussion items? So, Mr. Ackerberry, you had 8. You said 8 more meetings, right, Mr. Clerk?
That's correct.
Mr. Ackerberry, how does that fit?
So I
With
guess
this,
there's like 8 sections of the charter
Okay.
almost, and giving us time, like I said, to do another public hearing, us time to review the draft. It looks like we would do 3 or 4 per meeting to make sure that
You're
we're
proposing
we
3
sections of the charter.
sections.
Some are more meatier, so
Right.
I'm sure we can speed through some of the beginning ones, and then some of the ones in the middle, particularly the council offices, things like that, might be a little bit more detailed.
Having this knowledge, I would like to acknowledge the fact that which ones are we going to do for next week, for next meeting? And Mr. Taggart, I see.
Yes, in addition to that, Mr. Edwards, I would also too recommend, if possible, could we talk about the structure of the committees, like how many people? Will we have a committee to have 3 people to investigate those 3 sections and come back? Or are you looking to, you recommending that the entire
Yeah.
area? Just structure.
Yes.
As we move forward, but I
Let's
don't
do-
want to go past what you mentioned before.
Let's do what she is to get the structure there.
Well, I guess it would be easier if we break it up like that, so that only a couple of people are responsible at any given time for researching and getting the information and bringing it back to the committee for us to discuss, to the commission for us to discuss. So I think that's a, good way
I'm
to
a
do
little
it.
bit concerned when you say 2 or 3 people looking at it for research. This is a body, I don't think it's overwhelming
Right.
that each of us read what we need to read. And I would next to Ms. Ackerberry then.
Well, and so let me clarify, I don't think it's research, but maybe they are responsible for the recommendations, and then the rest of the commission, they're looking at it as well, but at least there's some point people responsible for an in-depth review of that section and can come up with some, recommendations to bring to the commission, so that we're just not all overtaxed, that's all.
Okay, Ms. Henry, go ahead. You had your hand up. Dee?
I actually was agreeing to what you said. I think we all should look at it. I guess it's okay if we have committees to do an in-depth, reading of it, but we all need to look at that information.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, so we can all come up with a, unanimous
Okay, Dee.
decision.
Ms. Herring, Mr. Herring, go ahead.
I think it's imperative that we all review it ourselves and then come together as a collective body as we've been commissioned to do. Otherwise, we are going as an independent entity, and we should not do that, because it is not about you and I. It is about how we implement the current charter to fit the residents of this community. And we should always bear in mind that our task is to serve the public.
Madam Vice Chair.
I'd like to propose a little bit of detail as it relates to Ms. Alcoberry's suggestion. The approach that I suggest is that for each section, we look at other cities of similar size that have also had charter commission reviews, as well as the model charter. And so there'd be a point person for particular sections to provide those comparisons to that section with other reviews. So again, while everyone is reviewing everything, there will be particular people in charge of making the comparisons or providing the comparisons to this body for ease of discussion.
I kind of like that better, but has everybody been in receipt of the Georgia Model Municipal Charter? Everybody has this?
Yes, today. Yeah,
You just
today.
received it? Okay, I think that's a great document to help us get where we want to be. I would ask each and every one of you to familiarize yourself with it. Ms. Zuckerberg, I think that's pretty good, her suggestion, and have those people compare it to the Georgia Municipal.
Well, and if we're gonna look at cities, then I think we need to define what cities or counties or what areas we're gonna be focused on, because I don't think it's, wise for us to go out. We're looking at New York, Chicago, and we're pulling different things. Maybe we focused on, because that's a lot of work, and I don't know if we're gonna have the time.
This particular document is given by GMA.
Right,
Georgia
so,
Municipal Association, so, they're the umbrella for all of this, the municipalities.
I was talking about not that one, but in addition to looking at maybe some other cities that recently have incorporated and maybe model cities that have good charters, and we determine we're gonna look at maybe 2 of those and picking those and sticking with those. So we're not looking at, in addition to this model, we're not looking at Chicago, New York, San Francisco, like all different kind of cities. So maybe we look at, some cities that were recently formed that seem to be functioning well, and look at their charters as well.
Well, as we go through this, there's nothing will hinder you from making independent research in any city and bring it back to the body, right, and make a comparison, even with this Georgia Municipal Charter Amendment. You follow me?
I do.
Okay, just a suggestion. Mr. Tiger?
Yes, I like the fact, because what we talked about the what, and then we talked about the how. The how is the benchmarking, the what is the structure. But I do like the fact that we do have a document that we can benchmark, but I want to make sure that, me being a resident the last 18 years, this area has unique qualities and characteristics that we do need to bring up to that point.
Right.
And I think when we talk about benchmarking against other cities, I'm not saying major urban areas, but bedroom communities like a South Fulton would be, to me, the norm. When you in turn go in and look, same population size, maybe the demographics, the ethnic and racial background, individuals of particular ages or genders, to me that would be an apples to apples comparison as to using what our good friends, the Georgia Municipal Charter Organization, they think that's model. Because it may not necessarily be model to us, so I'm just saying, I think we should look at other factors.
Before we get further in the discussion, I think we need to resolve the issue as to how we're gonna meet our next meeting.
Yes.
And what are we gonna undertake. I think there was 2 issues on the floor. One was that everybody look at it, Ms. Crane, and come back with something. And then there was a suggestion that a committee look in depth as to what it is. So I need somebody to make a motion on one of those so that we know what we're looking for when we come back to the meeting next time.
I concur with Vice Chair that we all need to my motion would be that we all take ownership of reviewing the portions that have been assigned to us between the 2 weeks intervals and be prepared to discuss it and make recommendations based upon your observations and what you feel is most appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Crane. Is there a second?
A second.
Properly moved to second. Any further discussion?
To speak to Mr. Taggart's point about similar type cities, just for this committee's consideration, the most recent 3 cities in Georgia that have gone through the charter review are Tucker, Sandy Springs, and Johns Creek.
The vote is on. When we're gonna meet next?
Okay.
But that was good, though.
Yeah, it was pretty
That
good.
was good.
Yeah. But we don't want to do that. But any further discussion? Hearing none, we're doing a yay, roll call. Let's vote.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Judge Johnson?
Yay.
Mr. Crane?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yeah.
Ms. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Harry?
Yes.
Ms. Jordan?
Yay.
Ms. Martin?
Yay.
Ms. Hockberry?
Yay.
Mr. Taggart?
Affirmative.
Does that motion also include the first 2 you said, right? The first 2?
That was not my motion.
That was not your motion,
I
okay.
make a motion, I'm looking at the charter, I make a motion that we cover the first 3 sections up to 3.30 at the next meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Parliamentary inquiry.
Go ahead, Mr. Crane.
I made a recommendation to move from yeas and nays on that first issue because it was such an important issue. It wasn't meant to be a precedent setter for the meeting.
Okay, I understand, but that was a motion.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other further discussion? as to what we're gonna be looking at the next meeting?
I do have a question. So what format are we bringing in the suggestions? Do we want them typewritten? Do we want to mark up our current charter? Are we gonna have like a parking lot area where we
Let's get the-
find similarities and differences to
Okay.
move things a little forward?
And that's a good suggestion to join, but let's get it passed first. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's have a yea-nay vote. Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Edwards,
Yes.
Judge Johnson,
Yay.
Mr. Crane,
Yes.
Ms. Franklin,
Yay.
Mr. Henry,
Yay.
Mr. Herring,
Yay.
Ms. Jordan,
Yay.
Ms. Martin,
Yay.
Ms. Huckleberry,
Yay.
Mr. Taggart.
Affirmative.
That item is approved unanimously.
You didn't call me?
Okay.
You got one person.
You forgot, Ms. Henry.
Yeah, the one that's over here in the little,
Sorry, Ms. Henry.
forgot all about me. Yay.
My apologies.
Thank you.
That item is approved
So now to move forward, I think the issue is what's gonna be the structure. You talked about Mr. Taggart, so, we're open for suggestions.
I mean, I think we should, if probably come up with a, kind of a, what do they call this? Not a template, but they call it something else. My wife's a teacher. She's told me so many different times. But it's just kind of a matrix that pretty much gives you
Rubrics.
rubric, that's it. Rubric.
I got you. I got you,
Got
bro.
my back, I appreciate that.
That's why we put you next to Benny.
So this will give us kind of a checklist to say, okay, well, looking at certain factors maybe on the top and on the X and Y axis to just say, okay, we reviewed this is what we want to see, and have it benchmark against those, I guess those 3 areas that we would want to look at with those cities that we talked about.
How do we accomplish that before the next meeting?
I think we can do, but go ahead.
Well, and I have a question.
I yield.
You still have to read
No, I yield.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
don't mind, yeah.
I was chastised last time, I know not.
No, you good.
Is it possible to do a Google Doc?
That's, okay.
Without it being a meeting? So if we're sending around, so that everyone can see everybody's edits and suggestions?
right.
So
Yes.
we're not doing it live here, but we can talk through it. So at least everybody has some background before they get here.
Yeah.
Is
Would
that
it-
not violating the?
Would it be
open
appropriate to
meetings
send
or
those,
something?
would it appropriate to send those to the clerk and he get them out? Mr. Clerk has something to say.
Yeah, I was just gonna, in the city, we use SharePoint. Am I right?
Okay,
SharePoint is
SharePoint is
good.
fine. Yeah.
Which we could send one document with the charter in it for everyone to, and once you make any corrections, it automatically records those
SharePoint is good.
suggestions. I just wanted to make sure the city attorney knew that's appropriate for these purposes.
Reggie McClendon, Assistant City Attorney. I believe that would be appropriate for these purposes as long as you understand that any edits that you make along the way will be open to any open records requests. So
Yeah.
when you put your ideas into that document that might not be final or fully thought out, there is a possibility that someone will get those records.
Well, there's open records on everything. Having heard that, having him said that, any further discussion?
Ms. Henry.
Go ahead, Ms.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So, can you hear me?
I think you turned it off.
Turn it off, turn it
There you
on.
go.
Is it on
There
or
you-
off?
It's on.
We decided that we're going to use similar cities in size, and
We had a conversation about it.
so we had a conversation. How are we going to determine that? There's over 500 cities here in the state of Georgia. What do we use as our comp?
Okay, let me,
How do we come to that conclusion?
great question. Let me get back where we need to be. And at this point, we were trying to just figure out how do we bring all the ideas together. We were suggesting SharePoint, and Mr. Crane had another, what is it called?
What, a rubrics?
Yeah, he had that. We need to find out how we're going to get together. But, Mr. Attorney, really, whether you use Google Doc or whatever, everything's open to public record, right? Yes, I want to make that clear.
But I think,
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Ms. Jordan, go ahead.
I apologize. I think Google Doc may give us too much exposure, if I'm not mistaken. So I think I like the idea of SharePoint.
Whatever give us the most transparency.
Yeah.
I think that's good. I'm not, everything's open to subject to Open
it's
Records
fine.
Act, so it's not a problem, you know, you have to be careful.
Question.
Go ahead, Mr.
Whichever platform we decide to go with, my question becomes, when either of us make edits, does it retain each edit, or does this edit override the prior edits? Or do we have a document that's fully edited that gives credit to the editor?
Does your suggestion do that?
Well,
I can ask the clerk about SharePoint.
well, I'm just trying to get some clarity.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, you know, what you're asking, that both can achieve with
Right,
either one,
that's what
yeah.
I'm asking, if that will be achievable with either or both platforms.
Okay, I don't know about that, but Mr. Clerk, what about SharePoint?
Yeah, I'm gonna let Mr. Renato Pasco, who's my deputy, answer that question.
Good evening, everyone. The SharePoint file can accomplish that task. So if you put an edit in there, it has the ability to either color code or make a distinct marker for whoever is making those edits, and it will show in the document. But it can also do a master edit if that is the route that you choose to take.
Follow-up question, please?
Yes, sir.
When it color codes, will we know as this body who the author of that edit?
Yes.
Those are initials.
Hover over it, it will show who made those edits.
Does that fit your, I don't know about the thing that you suggested, whether it does that or
Well, a
not.
rubric is a format, it's not one of these archival kind of documents, because we can accomplish the same edits in a Word document. It has a edit format as well. So but the rubrics is just, it's a path, it's a
I got you.
format with which we use to move information around.
Well, it seems like SharePoint's where we need to go. I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we use SharePoint to edit put our edits into the SharePoint.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any further discussion? Get your hand up.
Yes, I had a question,
SharePoint.
technology question about SharePoint. Mr. Pascal, can we place in there the comparison, whatever cities we decide, or whatever that strategy is, can we place the language for that particular section in that document for comparison?
Yes, there is a comparison option in there if you wanted to compare the document either before or after you edit it. You can also upload, whatever comparison document that you want into SharePoint. So if you wanted to just work from that file or the other file, you have the opportunity to do that. And you can merge them if you decide to do that. If you see something that you like and highlight it to incorporate it to a master file.
Thank you.
Any further?
I have a question.
Yes.
Since we have this Georgia model chart, why can't we just use that instead of reinventing the wheel?
I think they want to do that, but they added something to it in terms of other cities, all right? I mean, I was fine with it, and Mr. Tiger talked about, we don't know the size of the cities that's in the GMA document, so you may want to take that into consideration. But that's what the conversation was about.
Okay.
All right, so we're voting now to use SharePoint.
No.
Yes, we are.
No, we're
Mr.
gonna use SharePoint.
No, we hadn't voted on that.
Call
Mr.
for the
Taggart,
question.
we called the question. Mr. Taggart, this is the last comment.
I'm calling for the question for that,
Okay.
and then I'm going to answer my good colleagues.
Okay, there's a motion to call the question. There's a second.
Second.
Properly moved and second. This motion is to call the question. Can you roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Edwards,
Yes.
Judge Johnson,
Yay.
Mr. Crane,
Yes.
Ms. Franklin.
Can you repeat the question?
This is a motion to call the question, to bring the main motion to the floor.
Yeah.
Ms. Henry,
Yay.
Mr. Herring,
Yay.
Mr. Jordan. I'm sorry, Ms. Jordan.
Yes,
About your husband.
clearly.
Ms. Martin? Ms. Huckleberry?
Yay.
Mr. Taggart?
Affirmative.
The
Okay.
motion to call the question is approved.
The motion passes. The main motion is on the floor. Mr. Clerk.
It's a roll call vote to use SharePoint as the method of editing software. Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Judge Johnson?
Yay.
Mr. Crane?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin? Ms. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Herring?
Yes.
Ms. Jordan?
Yes,
Ms. Martin? Ms. Huckleberry?
Yay.
Mr. Taggart?
Affirmative.
That item is approved unanimously.
Y'all doing good. What was the other issue?
That was it for me.
No, that was another issue as to what we're gonna do next week, right?
No.
About the comparison of the cities?
Right. Well, that seems to be not as easily agreeable, so.
Excuse me, Ms. Huckleberry, can you press your button? I can't pick you up. There you go. Thank you.
So maybe it's, folks can look at other cities on their own, as you said, and then if they see something they like, insert it into the SharePoint, information.
Okay.
So I don't know how else you kind of define what cities would look at, because I think just because those cities were recently enacted, I don't know that that's what's best for city of South Fulton, so.
That's always the issue. Okay.
If I
So-
may,
Excuse me, Mr. Taggart, go ahead.
just the whole perspective, I mean, the Atlanta Regional Commission can provide readily data on variables like population, benchmarking to make sure that we're not dealing with a city that has X number of people versus us. We got 100,000 in our area. Do we want to benchmark that against a city with 250,000 in the town? So the length of time of founding, if they were founded in Fulton County, race, income, education, all of these variables can give you an apples-to-apples comparison. But it doesn't have to be in this piece. I think this should be the benchmark document. That's just my thought process. But I think we should look at other factors associated with this, because I don't particularly want to use this, because I'm pretty sure most of these cities probably don't reflect us. It's model, but it's not the gospel in this instance. That's just my thought process.
Well, you're gonna be faced with a lot of different things in terms of how government works. You'll see how we do that. But the thing you have to take in consideration mostly is that we're here to do a job. We can't be bogged down in a bunch of formality. So whatever works for us, whether it be SharePoint, Mr. Crane, or whatever the case may be, it need to work smoothly to get us to where we are. And I think we've done a great job in voting on how we're going to handle our next meeting.
And I know you weren't suggesting that
Huh?
what I suggested or anybody else was threw us off, Mr. Mayor, Mr.
Okay.
Former Mayor.
I got you.
Thank you.
I got you. Any other discussion? Go ahead, Ms. Secretary.
Just question, when will we receive the model on SharePoint? Is there an estimated time so we kind of know when to look for it?
Yeah, we can get it up tomorrow, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Vice Chair?
So to get some clarity, are we comparing other cities, or is that a whole other research task? Or do we, are we just looking, is there any further comparison, or is it just model, charter, or your own research?
Yes, I think that's what Ms. Stackleberry was alluding to.
Yeah.
So if you want to go look at Sandy Spring or whatever for case be, that's fine. You can tell us what you come up with, and we'll have a discussion about it. All right. Go ahead, Ms. Jordan.
So I have a comment to make about
Sure.
the discussion we're currently having, and I think it's easy to look at the cities in Fulton County just as a comparison, because there's only two cities in Fulton County that have mayor-led cities. That is not the city of South Fulton. So if we really want to look at this in the context of who we are and what we are right now today, we should really look at the structure of those cities that are governed exactly similar to the way we are, and not deviate, in my opinion, away from that, to make sure that we are at least looking at the language currently as the way it is, and looking at those cities that are governed the same exact way that we are.
Any further discussion?
Right here.
Mr. Crane?
Two things. Last week, Representative Bruce came in, and he made a suggestion, and I don't know if it got by anybody, but he suggested that we listen to our neighbors, and even the public comment was important to this process, to see what it is that, because they've been waiting for 5 years for this moment too, and we've got to rise to this moment. This moment can't be bigger than we are. We got to rise to this moment, listen to them, because they may have some ideas. And as we read through sections 1, 2, and 3, we can take their thoughts with us through that reading. But the other part is, we have to be very, very careful when we look at other cities' charters and try to, pigeonhole it in here, because unbeknownst to us, that piece that we're trying to mimic may not be working for them.
That's correct.
It could be the bane of their existence, and they are trying to change it, and we don't know that. So we got to be sensitive about what works for, what we believe might work best for our citizens in our city.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, do we have a website up yet?
No, we don't have a website. We have a web page with, with information and.
Is it designed to attract feedback from citizens?
Yes, yes. We do have a general email, Charter Commission at cityofsouthfultonga.gov that
they have to email it to you?
The public can email, and that comes into an email. Of course, you all have city email addresses, first dot last name, so you can receive comments. And we also have a form where citizens can send items to us.
But there's nothing, you can't go to that page and then if you have something to say, you can put it on that page.
Yes, we have a link where you can go to a form and fill it out, or you can email it, whatever.
I think we want to make it as simple as we can.
Yes.
Because it's important that we have the transparency. It's important that we get the feedback. So make it as simple as you can. And then the other problem comes with that, not a problem, is that you must get that information out to the members of this council.
Correct.
And so they can be prepared. And then can you let the, as you put this out, can you let the people know what we're going through at the charter next meeting, and then get them to address issues on that piece, because that's what we'll be discussing.
Yeah, we could put that on the webpage. Last
question: How are we making sure that the information is getting out to all the citizens of South Fulton? What are you using?
We use the city's communications department through social media, as well as the other list that they have to transmit that.
But it's on our website and things of that nature.
Right.
Okay, because I want to make sure that everybody knows what we're doing and when we're doing it. That's important to us. What we're doing and when we're doing it. And so we don't have any issues with transparency and things of that nature. Okay?
I have a question.
Go right ahead.
Do we use print? Do we send things out hard copy for those seniors who may not go on social media?
Mr. Clerk? That's a good question.
That's an excellent question. I would answer that by saying no, not at this time. That is an issue that the city administration is looking at. That's been a request of several council members in terms of doing mailings.
Yeah, I know that may be a cost, but just to know the certain percentage of people. It's probably a smaller amount, but I would highly recommend we do that.
I would say that I can take that back to the administration. That is a cost, and I don't know what that cost is. So,
Mr. Taggart, I'll talk to the city manager because it's important.
Yeah, right.
It really is important that everybody. When I used to work with Emma Donnell, she used to always say, "Sometimes you just got to buy a book of stamps."
That's it.
It was so true.
Well, not only, does this potentially affect seniors, it affects any household that's challenged with technology.
Yeah.
There's a, digital divide that's real, particularly when you have abject poverty like we have in South Fulton.
So let's continue to have that conversation and make sure that we can incorporate it as many people as we can. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, as I can recall, I believe that the city of South Fulton has a newsprint that comes out. I believe they have a newsprint that comes out. Could we put some type of information on?
Mr. Clerk?
That's definitely something I can take back and see about. We can make that happen.
What I'll do is I'll have some discussion with the administrator of the city, and then I'll get back with you all through email and let you know what they can and cannot do. But I'll be pressing to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to participate in this deal we're doing. All right. Ms. Jordan.
So I have a twofold question. I don't know if you mentioned this, but are the city council members able to send out notifications in their personal newsletters? If we can get this information to them as well to make sure that their constituents, although it is still electronic, I think it will still reach more households as we're talking about that. And then my second question is, how will we respond to public comments like we had here tonight to make sure that we let some of the citizens know we respond to the questions and comments that they had tonight, and we just not leave it out there in gray space and you're not hearing from us. So I want to know how will we go about doing that as well.
That's a good question. Some of the questions that was asked tonight, they cover the gamut of the charter. And the only thing I can say is as we keep that information, as we get to that portion of the charter, then we will give them an answer. That's the only sensible thing. We can't speak on something we have not even voted on yet.
Understood.
Yeah.
And just as a comment, we voted in the last meeting that we would offer public comment after our first draft, another round of public comment after we produced the first draft, to capture any other things that the public may want to add.
The minutes of this meeting will go out to everybody too. Is that correct, Mr. Chair, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, it'll be posted to that webpage, and of course, it will be sent out to.
Will it be posted to the city webpage?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Edwards.
Mr.
To
Crane,
Ms.
go ahead.
Jordan's concern about our responsiveness to the public comment, this document that comes from this committee will speak volumes as to whether we have listened to them and
Yes.
responded to them or
Absolutely,
not.
sir.
So what we hear from them ought to inform our decisions about what recommendations to make. While we know that our recommendations are non-binding to our state legislature, but at least we would have discharged our responsibility based on their input and based on the fact that I heard you from your lips to my ears to the document. So I think the finished document will speak volumes.
And I think whatever was said today by citizens is a part of the record. Am I correct, Mr. Clerk?
That's correct.
And so, it can be easily,
Exactly.
yeah.
Because some of the things
Divided.
that were mentioned, we have no control over.
For example, he heard where everything was said, right?
Right.
So if we're going back and we do X amount of charter review, he would incorporate those things that were said in the meeting from the public.
Right.
And the public comment is not just tonight, it's ongoing.
Right.
So we'll have to do it that way. All right, any further discussion?
I do have a question. When will we see the public comments from the meeting and have access to that information so that we can provide a response and incorporate that prior to our next meeting?
Yes, the minutes, we typically try to get those to you within 48 to 72 hours.
Okay, thank you.
Question.
Yes, Ms. Green.
Again, it's responding to Commissioner Jordan's question regarding our responding to the people who had public comment. Would it be this body's responsibility, individually or collectively, to respond to those people personally, directly, for issues that may or may not rise to our level of authority?
Yes, I think that you can. It does not rise, because some of this comment did not rise to the level of authority.
Right.
I'm just saying is that those that did, I don't want to make a comment where we have not reviewed properly that section of the charter. That's the only.
So then our comment, if we make any comment, will be after we have done that work, and that we are speaking in one voice, or do we speak as individuals?
I would hope that you would do it in one voice.
Well, I agree,
so-
but I think it's important to say that.
Yeah, I think that we should speak in one voice.
Right.
But I'm with you what you're saying now.
Right.
Those things that are out of our purview,
Right.
we should answer immediately.
Right.
All right? Those others, we will answer when we get to that section of the charter. I agree with that, Mr. Any further discussion? Good. Ms. Jordan, and we're gonna go home.
Well, because I just want to, I need a little clarity. So anything outside of our purview, will you respond to the constituents?
Yes, as we do with most of the, with all of the public comment, we have a process in the city where city manager is charged with following up in terms of which department it refers to.
Okay.
So yes.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
All right. Mr. Khalid, go ahead.
Yeah, just
I mean, Mayor Khalid, go ahead.
Go ahead, no, it's fine. Yeah, I want to apologize. I want to respect the concerns of the body, so I did have a different understanding about the appointments because that section said, except where otherwise provided. But I do want to respect the decision of the body, and so I have made that appointment, and I have emailed it, and the clerk now has it. So just wanted to let you all know that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. We appreciate it. All right. Oh, wonderful. You already, is there a second?
Second.
A second.
Been probably
I had discussion.
Uh-uh.
I had discussion, what we talked about
Oh,
earlier,
one thing, yes, about the,
about the schedule.
yeah.
Just wanted to let the commission know, there's no request to change your meeting time, but I wanted to let you know, because I know a lot of you are very active in the community. Your meeting on August 2nd is at 6 o'clock here. The city also has National Night Out at 6 o'clock on that same day. I just wanted to put that out there. You may wish to go ahead and proceed with your meeting, but that's a major event in the city. Just wanted to let you know about that. And also on August 16th, the city council will be meeting at 4 o'clock that day. You may recall last meeting, that meeting kind of went over a little bit. So I was gonna suggest instead of meeting at 6, maybe meet at 6:30 or 7, just to give the council a little leeway, so you're not waiting for that meeting to end before you begin. So those are two things just wanted to put in the breast of the body here.
Well, we have a motion on the floor to adjourn, right? You might want to pull that
That's
back.
correct.
Want to take that motion away? Have further discussion? Withdraw your motion? Withdraw. All right. Who seconded?
I second.
That's all right? That's all right with you?
That's okay.
Okay, good. So the discussion is about the National Night Out and the regular council meeting clashing with our meetings. So what is your preference? He's suggesting that we have are you suggesting an earlier meeting on the issue of National Night Out?
I didn't give a recommendation with regard to that one. I just wanted for point of information. I don't know if you want to meet earlier or later. But for the 16th, I was recommending that we push that meeting back maybe 30 minutes or an hour.
Okay. What's your preference on the National Night Out issue? I'm asking everybody.
Well, if I may, I think it's a very important initiative, and I personally feel that we should maybe find a different day.
I plan to attend National Night Out.
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
I know what they're doing, that's all. Go ahead.
is there a way we can just come back and make a recommendation? But I do agree with my colleagues, the second may not be the best time frame to do that. But could we come back at the next meeting and make a recommendation? Or are you trying to do that tonight, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Clerk, thank you, Mr.
Mr. Chair and commission members, what I can do is I can poll the commission between now and the end of the week and get your preferences offline and throw out some dates. And that way you won't have to wait until, then it's August 2nd, so it's the next meeting, so.
It's already, it's everybody,
So,
excuse me. Ms. Perry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I think we probably need to decide tonight, if we can.
What's your preference?
Mr. Ellis,
This is the next one.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Mr.
Well,
Crane.
could we consider for the month of August, only because of these conflicts, rather than the first and third Tuesday, to go, since there are 5 Tuesdays in that month, go to the second and the fourth Tuesdays?
Same conflict, sorry.
Really?
Yes,
Yeah,
council meeting.
It's council meeting.
Council meeting.
Okay, all right, well
Yeah.
then,
So is everybody okay with the clerk polling? And see how we can get around this? Is that all right? that consistent with? Yeah, okay. The other, what about the date for the regular council meeting? That conflicts with us, or we conflict with them?
I move that the meeting on August 16th be postponed to begin at 6:30.
Girl, you know how to do it, that's good. Properly moved to second, any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote please, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Judge Johnson?
Yay.
Mr. Crane?
Yay.
Ms. Franklin?
Yay.
Ms. Henry?
Yay.
Mr. Herring?
Yay.
Ms. Jordan?
Yay.
Ms. Martin?
Yay.
Ms. Huckleberry?
Yay.
Mr. Taggart?
Affirmative.
That motion was approved.
Okay, the previous motion was adjourned by Ms. Sackleberry. Go ahead, make your motion.
A second.
Properly moved to second, any discussion? Hearing none. This meeting is adjourned.
Be good.